During the following days, Lith discovered that his body had undergone many changes. He felt lighter than ever, and all of his physical abilities were enhanced. Even his senses had become sharper. His physical appearance had also changed. The moles on his skin had shrunk, his skin was smoother, and most of the freckles around his nose and eyes had disappeared. Lith took note of all the changes, trying to understand what had happened, but he didn't care about the beautifying effects. Even with all the physical improvements, he still looked like a peasant. His mother's beautiful genes hadn't been passed down to him. Unlike his sisters, Lith had none of Alina's beauty and grace. His mother was like a ballerina, while he was as rough and clumsy as a caveman. Lith looked a lot like his father with a big forehead and a large nose, his face's most prominent feature. He wasn't ugly, but he couldn't be called cute either. In Earth's terms, he would say he was a 6 out of 10. Lith's only hope for improvement was to undergo a growth spurt during his teenage years to get rid of his thin and scrawny build. But what he really cared about was the changes in his mana core. Lith found that his mana had also undergone a qualitative change, becoming purer and denser. This allowed him to cast stronger spells and reduced the time he needed to manipulate elemental and spirit magic. He also became faster at casting spells. Through invigoration, he can now spot the presence of the tar-like material scattered throughout his body. He found it everywhere, in his organs, his blood vessels, and even in his brain cells. And by using the accumulation technique, he could feel the smaller tar-like particles being pulled towards his mana core, whereas the bigger ones would fragment over time and shrink in size before moving toward it. With his newfound strength, Lith started going deeper into the woods and hunting for bigger prey. He was no longer afraid of predators. Instead of avoiding them, he started hunting them. Lith did this because he wanted his family to have enough fur for adequate, warm clothes so they could withstand the harsh winters. He was tired of being forced to wear many layers of clothing during winter, which made him clumsy and slow. Every time he went out of his house in those clothes, he could barely move and was forced to waddle like a penguin. But as he began hunting bigger prey, another problem arose. Lith still moved through the forest making a lot of noise and scaring most of the game away. He was only still able to hunt because of his life vision spell that he combined with spirit magic. His range had now increased to over 98 feet, so he could easily kill any animal that tried to escape by climbing trees or flying away. When the hunt bore no big results, he would kill any bird that he saw flying close to him. One day, Lith was exploring a new area in the Tron Woods, hoping to find prey that would provide him with both great meat and precious fur. He was checking a small mound when his life vision spotted 3 life forces hiding a few feet underground. They were not strong enough to be predators, but were big enough to be perfect meals. If they're underground, that means they might have more than one exit. I have to force them out without giving them a chance to escape at all. There's no time to waste. He got on top of the mound and used earth magic while keeping his focus on the prey. Magna! The ground around him started shaking, making the burrow and the small tunnels inside collapse. The creatures panicked and took the first exit they could find while remaining underground. Lith ran after them, monitoring their movements from above and keeping a close distance between them so they would not escape the range of his spirit magic. 3 big fat rabbits came out of a hole near a bush. 2 of them still had snow-white fur. "Great!" Lith screamed. He snapped his fingers and broke the rabbits' necks in one swift motion. "I'll keep the brown rabbit for myself and trade the white ones with Celia for more, lower quality fur. Today has been my lucky day." He said all of this out loud because he was used to being alone in the woods. It helped him to feel less isolated. He hung the rabbits on his belt and headed toward Celia's house. He had only taken a few steps when he heard an odd sound closing in on him. He had never heard it before, so he looked around for its source. Suddenly, 2 riders on horseback appeared in the distance, coming towards him. "I should have been quieter. Should I stay or run?" To get an answer to his question, he activated a light vision again. He saw the raiders were simple men, not impressive at all. The one closer to him seemed to have the same strength as Celia, while the other one behind him was weaker than Raz. Lith smiled as the raiders approached him. He was now eager to meet them. "Well, well, well. My first encounter with complete strangers in this new world. I wonder if they're good people. I bet they aren't. Humans are the same everywhere. Completely awful." Let's find out. Lith stood there, waiting for them to arrive. The first man was clearly the other one's servant. He was dressed as a hunter, his suit made of low-quality leather. He had a crest on both his chest and shoulders. He was a middle-aged man, with pitch-black short hair and mean, angry eyes. The other one was dressed more elegantly, with a suit of much better quality. He wore the same crest on his chest, but this one was made of silk and gold. He was a kid, no more than 16 years old, with a handsome face and a build of a swimmer. The tight-fitting leather emphasized the muscular body that moved in tune with his horse. This made Lith very angry. I really hope he is as much of a jerk as he is handsome. Otherwise, I'll be forced to start believing in Prince Charming and I would also die of envy, he thought. Hey, kid, said the servant. What was that noise from before? Lith put on his best impression of an innocent child, playing a wolf in sheep's clothing. Good day, sir. It was just me hunting. I'm sorry if I scared you. Lith's voice sounded genuine and apologetic. He wanted to give them the chance to prove him wrong. He wanted them to prove they were good people. Where did you get those? The servant said, pointing at the rabbits. From a rabbit hole. They're my game, Lith said, smiling while keeping a close watch on both of them. Hand them over at once. They will make a perfect muff for my mother, said the young one in a beautiful tone of voice. Lith immediately dropped the act. Seriously? Robbing a kid in broad daylight? You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Watch your tone, kid, the servant said. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? He is Baron Wrath's son, lord of these lands. Lith let out a hearty laugh. The woods of Tron have no owner, except maybe for Count Lark. So stop lying and talking nonsense. And besides, do you know who you're talking to? I am a Supreme Mage. See what happens when you waste your time on commoners, Korth? Said that young nobleman, while taking out the bow he had strapped across his back and knocking an arrow. He aimed it at Lith's heart. They are just too stupid to understand their proper place in life. He shot the arrow, but Lith had been ready. He waved his hand, and a strong gust of wind hit the arrow on the side, making it spin out of control and hit the ground a great distance away. The young nobleman was shocked, but he took out another arrow and aimed at Lith while ordering Korth to kill him. Lith raised his left hand and froze Korth in place using spirit magic. He raised his right hand and took control of the arrow. It slipped away from the young nobleman, and then, turning on him, stabbed him in the eye. The nobleman fell from his horse, screaming in pain. To think that I even bothered to give you guys a chance to get out of here alive, Lith said, shaking his head. Wait, if you kill the young lord, you and your loved ones will die. Think carefully about your next move, Korth said. Lith laughed again. And how would they ever find out what happened here? Lith said. He moved his left thumb and, to the man's horror, Korth felt his right hand moving against his will. Lith made the fellow unsheath the knife he carried on his belt. Wait, please, have mercy. You don't have to do this, Korth begged. So, when it's you that does the killing, it's okay. But when you lose, you expect mercy, Lith said, his words dripping with spite. He moved his hand and positioned the knife at Korth's throat. Since you're just a servant, I'll give you a clean death, he said, and with a flick of his finger, he forced Korth to cut his own throat from ear to ear. After Korth's death, Lith approached the young nobleman, who was still on the ground, writhing in pain. As for you, you're the kind of person I hate the most. With one hand, Lith elevated him from the ground, and, keeping him frozen at midair, he used his other hand to punch him savagely. Life gave you everything. Money, beauty, a great future, and that's not enough. You have all that and you choose to abuse the less fortunate. Lith hated humans more than anything. This rage came all the way from his previous life on Earth, where the only thing keeping his anger at bay was the responsibility he felt towards his brother. But in this new world, he could let go of any vestige of control. Here, there were no cameras, GPS, or any sort of tracking device. There was only power, and for once, he was the one wielding it. You know,
I have a very sick sister,
he said, still punching the nobleman.
I could use my magic to help her, but I need to practice dark magic to find the proper cure. I would never practice dark magic on living beings because it would be absolutely cruel. You, on the other hand, just prove that you're a monster in the body of a man. I have no qualms in doing my research on you.
The woods rang with the sound of the boy's screams for hours, until death finally came to claim her prize.